Welcome back to Broadcasting Seeds, where we dig into the strange, the mysterious, and the downright unsettling truths of our world. I'm your host, Bennett Tanton, and today we're saddling up for a spectral ride that stretches across ancient myth and brushes up against the edges of our modern reality. It's time to talk about the Wild Hunt, a chilling legend that has haunted winter nights for centuries. Now picture this. It's a cold, dark night and the wind howls through the trees like it's got secrets to spill. Suddenly, there's the sound of hoofbeats, unseen riders galloping through the sky, their ghostly forms trailing behind a spectral leader. If that doesn't make your hair stand on end, I don't know what will. But here's the thing. The Wild Hunt isn't just a spooky story told to keep kids in bed at night. It's a deeply rooted piece of Norse, Germanic, and Celtic mythology that shaped how people viewed the world and its connection to the supernatural. Over time, this legend has evolved, worming its way into Christmas traditions and even sparking modern reports of strange phenomena. Today, we're peeling back the layers of this eerie tale. We'll dive into its origins, explore the supernatural and paranormal elements tied to it, and uncover how the Wild Hunt went from being an omen of doom to inspiring a jolly bearded guy in a red suit. And yes, I'm talking about Santa Claus. So grab your warm drink of choice, because if this legend teaches us anything, it's that winter nights can be downright dangerous. Stick around, and by the end of this episode, you might just see the Wild Hunt in a whole new light, or shadow, as the case may be. Let's get into it. The legend of the Wild Hunt is like a patchwork quilt of fear, stitched together from the myths and folklore of Norse, Germanic, and Celtic cultures. While the specific details vary from one region to another, the core elements remain consistent. Ghostly riders, ominous skies, and a sense that something unholy is galloping just beyond the veil of our reality. Let's start in the icy north with the Norse version of the hunt. In this iteration, Odin himself leads the charge. That's right, the Allfather, known for his one eye, wisdom, and occasional meddling, was also the spectral leader of a celestial posse. Imagine Odin thundering across the winter sky, flanked by warriors, Valkyries, and his faithful wolves, Geri and Freki. The Norse believed the Wild Hunt was a harbinger of war, plague, or other disasters, making it the ultimate winter is coming warning. Shifting over to the Germanic version, we find a slightly different spin. Here, the leader of the hunt could be a variety of figures, sometimes a king, other times a supernatural entity. One prominent figure is Wotan, a Germanic iteration of Odin. But unlike his Norse counterpart, Wotan's hunt was less about war and more about chasing lost souls or punishing wrongdoers. It's like the cosmic version of a neighborhood watch program, only way more terrifying. The Celts, of course, put their own stamp on the legend. In Celtic mythology, the Wild Hunt often involved a figure known as the Horned One, a mysterious, antlered entity thought to be a guardian of the natural world. Celtic lore paints the hunt as both a warning and an opportunity. If you saw the riders and survived, you might gain wisdom or a glimpse into the other world. But let's be real, most people probably just ran screaming in the other direction. Across all these versions, the Wild Hunt wasn't just a spectacle. It was an event loaded with meaning. It represented the boundary between life and death, the seen and unseen, the mortal and the divine. In a time when winters were harsh and survival was uncertain, these stories served as both warnings and explanations for the inexplicable. But here's the twist. The Wild Hunt wasn't always about scaring people into staying home. It also carried a sense of awe. This wasn't just a gang of ghosts. It was a glimpse into a cosmic battle or a divine procession. People feared it, sure, but they also respected it, like nature itself, beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. Now that we've got the basics of the hunt down, let's shift gears in section 2 to explore the supernatural and paranormal connections that have kept this legend alive in whispers and sightings. The Wild Hunt isn't just a myth confined to ancient times. It's a legend that seems to spill over into the real world through eerie phenomena and unexplainable sightings. This is where things get really interesting, because while skeptics may chalk it up to folklore, plenty of strange occurrences suggest there might be more to this spectral ride than just bedtime stories. Let's start with the skies. Accounts of the Wild Hunt often describe ghostly riders sweeping across the heavens, accompanied by howling winds, unearthly lights, and an overwhelming sense of dread. Sound familiar? If you've ever heard of auroras, those swirling lights that dance across polar skies, some believe these natural phenomena may have inspired the myth. But there's a catch. Auroras don't explain the sounds. Witnesses of the hunt often report a cacophony of hoofbeats, hounds, and even human cries echoing through the air. Atmospheric scientists might point to wind patterns or temperature inversions as the culprits, but here's the thing. Those explanations don't account for the sheer volume of reports over centuries. And then there are the sightings. Historical records are littered with tales of people who claim to have seen the Wild Hunt with their own eyes. One notable account comes from 12th century England when a monk named Orderic Vitalis wrote about spectral huntsmen appearing in the night sky, terrifying the local villagers. These riders weren't just a passing shadow. They were described in detail, with glowing eyes and armor that shimmered like frost in the moonlight. Were these visions the result of mass hysteria, or was something else at play? Modern reports aren't so different. People living in rural areas, particularly in Europe, still claim to witness strange phenomena that align with descriptions of the hunt. Unexplained lights, eerie animal sounds, and sudden gusts of wind that seem to carry whispers. All of these are eerily consistent with the old stories. Some paranormal researchers even link these events to UFO sightings, suggesting that what people once interpreted as ghostly riders might now be seen as extraterrestrial activity. Let's not forget the dogs, the hounds of the Wild Hunt, often described as massive, black, and otherworldly, are a key feature of the legend. These spectral animals bear striking resemblance to the black dogs of English folklore, which are said to be omens of death or misfortune. In fact, reports of ghostly canines continue to this day, with witnesses describing encounters that leave them shaken to their core. Coincidence? Maybe. But it's worth noting how these themes persist across time and geography. Then there's the psychological aspect. Many who claim to have witnessed phenomena linked to the Wild Hunt report feelings of being watched or pursued, what researchers might call a presence. Is it just the human brain playing tricks in the dark, or are these experiences brushing up against something truly supernatural? Of course, some scientists argue that such events can be explained by natural forces or psychological phenomena. For example, infrasound, low-frequency sound waves produced by storms or seismic activity, has been shown to cause feelings of unease or fear. Could this be the source of those eerie sensations tied to the hunt? Maybe. But even the most rational explanations don't quite cover the sheer breadth of experiences reported over centuries. In the end, The Wild Hunt occupies a unique space where myth meets the unexplained. Whether it's a trick of the mind, a misinterpretation of natural events, or something truly otherworldly, the legend continues to capture our imaginations and our fears. The Wild Hunt wasn't just a terrifying spectacle, it was a cultural lightning rod, serving as both a warning and a symbolic reminder of the forces that governed life and death. To the people who told these stories, the hunt wasn't a random occurrence, it was an omen, a harbinger of cosmic disruption, and a cautionary tale wrapped in ghostly riders and baying hounds. At its core, the hunt represented a breakdown of the natural order. In many versions of the legend, it swept through the land during the cold, dark months of winter, a time when survival was already precarious. Crops were gone, livestock were scarce, and the world felt like it was teetering on the edge of chaos. The Wild Hunt embodied this sense of instability, its spectral riders serving as a chilling reminder that life was fragile and death was always near. But there was more to it than simple fear-mongering. In Norse mythology, for instance, Odin's leadership of the hunt had layers of meaning. Odin wasn't just a god of war, he was also a seeker of wisdom, a shamanic figure who walked between worlds. When he led the Wild Hunt, it was as much about maintaining cosmic balance as it was about delivering doom. In a way, the hunt was a kind of supernatural justice system, ensuring that the unrighteous face their fate. This theme of cosmic balance appears in other versions of the legend as well. In Germanic folklore, Wotan's hunt wasn't just a punishment for wrongdoers, it was a way to reclaim the souls of the restless dead, bringing them back into the fold of the afterlife. The hunt became a mechanism for setting things right, even if the process was terrifying to behold. Celtic versions of the Wild Hunt, with their connection to the otherworld, leaned heavily into this idea of balance. The Celts viewed the otherworld as a parallel dimension, not entirely separate from our own. The Wild Hunt, then, wasn't just a raid on the mortal realm. It was a crossing of boundaries, a reminder that the veil between worlds was thin and permeable. If you were unlucky enough to witness the hunt, it meant you were standing too close to that boundary and you might get swept away. And speaking of warnings, let's not forget the practical side of these stories. In an era where venturing out into a snowstorm could mean death, the legend of the Wild Hunt served as an effective deterrent. Stay indoors, it warned, or risk being carried off by ghostly riders. It was folklore as survival strategy, a way to keep people safe during the harshest time of year. Yet, for all its warnings and omens, the Wild Hunt also had an element of awe. It wasn't just a random collection of spirits, it was an organized, purposeful force. The riders had a leader, the hounds had a mission, and the entire event carried a sense of divine order. Even in its most terrifying form, the hunt was a reminder that there were greater powers at work, powers that humans could never fully understand, let alone control. So, what does all this mean for us today? The Wild Hunt reminds us that chaos and order are two sides of the same coin. It's a story that speaks to the human experience of grappling with forces beyond our control, whether those forces are natural disasters, spiritual phenomena, or the mysteries of life and death. The Wild Hunt, with all its ghostly riders and ominous howls, might seem worlds apart from the warm, jolly figure of Santa Claus. But dig a little deeper, and you'll find surprising connections between this chilling legend and the cozy traditions of Christmas. Yes, that's right. Santa's origins are tied to a spectral procession that once sent shivers down people's spines. Let's start with Odin, the Norse god often associated with leading the wild hunt. Odin was more than just a warrior. He was a wanderer, a giver of gifts, and a seeker of knowledge. During Yule, the Norse midwinter festival, Odin was said to ride his eight-legged horse, Sleipnir, across the sky. Sound familiar? Sleipnir's 8 legs may have inspired the idea of Santa's 8 reindeer. And just like Santa, Odin was known to reward the good and punish the wicked, a theme that carried over into Christmas lore. The Germanic version of the hunt also plays a role. In some regions, the leader of the hunt was Frau Holla, a goddess associated with winter and domesticity. During midwinter, she would travel through villages, rewarding industrious households and punishing the lazy. Over time, Frau Holla's character blended with St. Nicholas, creating a figure that embodied both generosity and discipline, a precursor to Santa's naughty or nice list. Even the practice of leaving out treats for Santa has roots in these older traditions. Norse children would leave food for Sleipnir during Yule, hoping to curry favor with Odin. This evolved into the modern custom of leaving milk and cookies for Santa, or carrots for his reindeer. The idea of a mystical figure visiting homes during the winter months, bringing gifts or consequences, is a direct echo of these ancient practices. But how did the wild hunt's ominous imagery transform into the cheerful, red-suited Santa we know today? The answer lies in a mix of cultural shifts and storytelling. As Christianity spread through Europe, pagan traditions like Yule and the wild hunt were adapted to fit the new religious framework. The hunt's darker elements, ghostly riders, and ominous warnings were softened or reinterpreted. Instead of a harbinger of doom, the midwinter visitor became a symbol of hope, charity, and joy. One key figure in this transformation was St. Nicholas, a 4th century bishop known for his generosity. As his legend spread, it merged with local traditions, including the wild hunt. In some versions, St. Nicholas was accompanied by a dark figure, Krampus or Black Peter, who played the role of enforcer, punishing the naughty while St. Nick rewarded the nice. This duality mirrors the wild hunt's theme of cosmic balance, with rewards and punishments meted out in equal measure. Fast forward to the 19th century, and writers like Clement Clark Moore and artists like Thomas Nast gave Santa Claus the modern makeover we recognize today. The ghostly riders of the hunt became reindeer. The spectral leader transformed into a jolly gift giver, and the ominous warnings were replaced by cheerful ho ho ho. Yet the echoes of the wild hunt remain, hidden in the stories, the traditions, and even the imagery of Santa flying through the winter sky. The wild hunt's influence on Christmas is a testament to the way myths evolve over time, blending with new traditions while keeping their core essence intact. It's a reminder that even the most joyful celebrations can have roots in something darker and more mysterious. Now that we've connected the dots between the wild hunt and Santa Claus, let's move into Section 5, where we'll look at how this legend continues to inspire modern culture, from books to movies to video games. The wild hunt may have its roots in ancient mythology, but it hasn't been relegated to the dusty pages of history. Instead, this legend has found new life in modern culture, inspiring countless books, movies, and video games. It seems that the haunting image of ghostly riders tearing through the sky still resonates, even in our tech-driven, hyper-connected world. Let's start with literature. The Wild Hunt has galloped its way into countless novels, often serving as a metaphor for chaos, destiny, or the relentless passage of time. One notable example is Susan Cooper's The Dark is Rising series, where the hunt is portrayed as a powerful, otherworldly force tied to ancient magic. It's not just a myth in these stories, it's a living, breathing phenomenon that drives the narrative forward. Neil Gaiman's American Gods also nods to the hunt, blending old-world mythology with modern storytelling in a way that feels both timeless and fresh. In film and television, the Wild Hunt often appears as a visual shorthand for the supernatural. Shows like Supernatural, of course, and The Witcher use the hunt to evoke a sense of impending doom and to connect their characters to a larger mythic world. The spectral riders are rarely the main focus, but their presence adds depth and stakes to the story, reminding viewers that the characters are part of something much bigger and much more dangerous than themselves. And then there's gaming, where the Wild Hunt takes on a life of its own. Perhaps the most famous example is The Witcher 3. Wild Hunt, a game that draws heavily from Slavic and European folklore. In the game, the Wild Hunt isn't just a legend, it's a terrifying, tangible threat that drives the plot and tests the player's skills. The game's developers took inspiration from the original myths, but reimagined the hunt as a spectral army bent on destruction, giving it a fresh yet familiar feel. The success of the Witcher franchise has brought the Wild Hunt into mainstream pop culture, introducing millions of gamers to this ancient legend. But it's not just entertainment media that keeps the Wild Hunt alive. Paranormal enthusiasts and folklorists continue to explore the legend, often connecting it to modern reports of unexplained phenomena. Some researchers believe the hunt might be tied to UFO sightings, while others suggest it's a lingering cultural memory of ancient celestial events, like meteor showers or auroras. Whatever the case, the Wild Hunt has proven remarkably adaptable, shifting its form to fit the cultural context of the time. The legend's enduring appeal lies in its ability to tap into universal human fears and fascinations. The Wild Hunt speaks to our fear of the unknown, our awe of nature's power, and our curiosity about what lies beyond the veil of this world. Whether it's portrayed as a cosmic battle, a supernatural omen, or a terrifying chase, the hunt resonates because it feels both ancient and immediate, both mythic and real. As we've seen, the Wild Hunt is more than just a relic of the past. It's a living legend that continues to inspire and terrify in equal measure. From the pages of novels to the screens of video games, it reminds us that some myths are simply too powerful to fade away. With that, we've come full circle, tracing the Wild Hunt from its ancient origins to its modern incarnations. And there you have it, folks. The Wild Hunt, in all its eerie, ghostly, and oddly festive glory, from its chilling roots in Norse, Germanic, and Celtic mythology to its modern-day appearances in books, games, and even Santa Claus mythology, the hunt is a legend that refuses to stay silent. Whether it's a warning about cosmic chaos, a metaphor for balance, or just a really spooky story to tell on a dark winter night, the Wild Hunt still captures the imagination in ways few myths can. So, what do we take away from all this? Maybe it's the idea that some myths endure because they speak to something universal, our fears, our awe, and our need to make sense of the unexplained. Or maybe it's a reminder that even in the darkest, coldest nights, there's always a story worth telling. If you enjoyed this episode of Broadcasting Seeds, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend, leave a review, and let me know what legends, cryptids, or conspiracies you'd like to hear about next. Your support keeps this ride going, and it means the world to me. Until next time, keep your eyes on the skies, whether it's ghostly riders, strange lights, or something else entirely. You never know what might be out there. I'm Bennett Tanton, and you've been listening to Broadcasting Seeds. Stay curious, stay safe, and I'll catch you in the next episode.
I got bad thoughts that make my mind scared, hold me hostage and they don't fight fair. Who gon' pray for me and wipe all my tears? Who gon' save me if you not right here? Move this darkness and make my sight clear. Take me away cause I don't like here. Ghosts of my past, they feeling the night air. Wake me up, I'm trapped in my nightmares. Wake me up, I'm trapped in my nightmares. Drowning, I'm off the deep end. Apparitions of all my demons. All my thoughts are committing treason. All alone, who gon' hear me screaming? Manifestations of my fears, regrets that stretched out for light years. Can almost touch the light, homie, it's right there. Body free but trapped in my nightmares. Wake me up, don't let me drown. All the lights are fading.